Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome to this time of devotions for the World Cup. The topic for this time is encouragement. I'm super excited about this because we're going to be looking at what I call the Barnabus blueprint. This man was the quiet giant of the early church, and I'm just going to let you know, you see me obviously have different World Cup things. I got the USA jersey on. I got this little necklace. The reason why I wore this today is because when Ryan and I went to a World Cup game, we went and saw Bosnia versus Qatar, and they were giving these out. It's nothing special. It's just a little promo thing that you can personalize or something like that. I didn't even do it, but I just thought it was kind of cool. And the World Cup is pretty special to me because it involves me getting hurt, and that's not why it's special to me, but. About this time, 16 years ago, I was hurt, and the World Cup was basically a lifeline for me. I had it was in June of 2010, and specifically June 14th of 2010, and I tore both patella tendons in my knees. And what that happened is I had to have surgery, and I was in casts up to my waist basically on both my legs, kind of immobilized, and I was in a hospital bed in my living room for about 3 months or so before I transitioned to braces and things like that. And those first 5 weeks though of that time, I watched the whole World Cup. And that in 2010, it was played in South Africa. And for 5.5 weeks, it was my lifeline. I would wake up and I would watch it. The first game, I remember seeing the first game at 4 in the morning or something. The next game was at this time, and there was multiple games just like what's going on now. And I pretty much saw every game. And it culminated, that particular World Cup culminated in a victory for Spain. In that, and the World Cup really helped me get through those first 5 weeks of my injury, and that's super important. Besides the World Cup, I had multiple people visit and encourage me while I was recovering. And during that time with my knees, I think one of the biggest encouragers was Mark Bishop. Now, I'm not sure if you remember Mark, but Mark was newly saved at the time. And he was still struggling with some, of his issues that he dealt with. But as he was struggling, he was also asking questions. So it was kind of my job to encourage him a little bit. But he was encouraging me by just being there. And he was super faithful. He would come every Wednesday or Thursday to visit me. He wouldn't miss. And he brought chicken. It's always important when a friend brings food. And that was the man was an awesome guy. He's going to be with the Lord now. He's having a wonderful time of his life, I can only imagine. And, so I was super grateful for Mark, though, and that encouragement during that time. And then on June 18th in 2024, so it's a thing with the month of June for me, my appendix burst and eventually was removed. And this led to a 16-day hospital stay. So I don't know if you've been in the hospital for that long, but I know Carmen was. I know she was out for most of that time other than the recovery and things like that. But I had my family. I had Pastor Mark and Carmen and Pastor Ted and Jeff Smith were there multiple times with encouragement. And it's super important, I think, for people to come and see people in the hospital because they need that encouragement. They need somebody to get by there and just motivate them. And, we all need encouragement at some time or another. I'm sure you can agree. And the guy that you heard me mention, the guy I want to talk about, though, his name is Barnabus. And the reason why is his real name was Joseph, and he was a Levite from Cyprus. But the reason why I want to talk about him is his nickname was the Son of Encouragement. And he was nicknamed that by the apostles. And in light of that nickname and also the World Cup, can you imagine how great of a head coach do you think Barnabas would have been? I think he would have been pretty good. He was an encourager, and knowing that, that would have made him a great head coach. I can only imagine Barnabas at halftime making adjustments and encourage to whatever his team needed, and encouraging his team on with so much encouragement. I'm not sure too many opposing teams would have been able to overcome those adjustments he made. Yeah, I don't know. That's just me spitballing and thinking, but you know, if you removed Barnabas from the New Testament, the early church would look very different. Paul might not never have been accepted. John Mark might never have recovered. The Gentile church in Antioch might never have flourished. And Barnabas didn't write a book of the Bible. He is only in a smattering of scriptures compared to the other disciples. He didn't pastor a mega church. He never preached a sermon that was ever recorded. But he simply lived a life of encouragement, and God used him so powerfully. Today I want to show you 4 qualities. We're going to buzz through them real quick, but from Barnabas' life that every believer can live out. And so here's the first one. And it's pretty simple. It's probably one you've already thought of, but be an encourager. Acts 11:23 says, when he saw, meaning Barnabas, when he saw the grace of God, he was glad. Now you might think, well, what was that? Well, Barnabas walked into the church of Antioch, and he didn't look for what was wrong. He looked for grace. He saw God working with people who were new, kind of rough around the edges and still growing. And Scripture says he was glad. How many times do we do that? Unfortunately, we revert to kind of faults and critiques. I know that's me. And encouragers celebrate progress, not perfection. He wasn't looking for perfection. He saw progress being made. And encouragers speak life into people who are trying. That's what they're just trying. And they say, I see God working in you. Man, I don't know how many times I've seen that happen in my life. I hope you have as well. But the basics on this part here is just as Barnabas did. Call out God's grace in someone's life. Tell them what you see God doing. The second one here is stand with the overlooked. Acts 9:26 through 27 says, Barnabas stood with Paul when no one else trusted him. Now imagine, you got Paul. He was at one time, before he was converted to Christ by seeing Jesus on the road, basically, he was murdering. He was going after the apostles. He wanted to eradicate the earth of them. And when he gets saved, when Paul first comes to Jerusalem, the believers were terrified of him. Imagine that. His past was too dark for them. His reputation was too dangerous. But Barnabas, who's the son of encouragement, stood beside him. He used his credibility to lift Paul up. And in that moment, it launched Paul's ministry. Just as Barnabas did, I want you to ask yourself this question. Who in your life feels unseen, untrusted, or overlooked? Your support might be the spark that ignites their calling. Your simple words might be ones that launches a ministry. You just don't know. So stand with the overlooked. Number 3, give generously. Acts 4:36 through 37 says, Barnabas sold a field and gave the money to the apostles. This is like his introduction. That's the first part that I've read about. He sold a field and gave money to the apostles. He laid it at their feet. Before Barnabas ever encouraged with words, he encouraged with sacrifice. But generosity for Barnabas wasn't just money. He gave, number 1, time. He traveled and taught. That takes time. That he spent a year in places. Trust. He believed in Paul. Okay, he's like I said, he stood beside him. He went with him to different cities and preached. The third thing is second chances. We'll talk about more about that. He was about restoring John Mark. And now what happened there is there was a disagreement. We'll refer to it soon. But it caused John Mark to be needed to be restored. And encouragers give more than compliments. They give of themselves. They put themselves out there. And just as Barnabas did, give someone your time, give them your trust, and even give someone a second chance. Who do you know out there that might need a second chance? And it might be hard to give them that. But sometimes we just got to put ourselves out there and do that. Number 4, the last one. Let God use your imperfections. Oh boy. I don't know. That's not where I'm comfortable. But just like I told you, when I was laid up, Mark Bishop had imperfections. And he had questions. He was newly saved. But he just launched out. He asked me questions like, can I pray to God when I'm at a red light for it to be changed? Absolutely. Why not? That's a simple question. Somebody else might have said, no, that's dumb. Absolutely. Why not? God, you need that red light change? Pray for it. But he had questions like that. And and there was imperfections in those. He struggled with, I'd say he struggled with alcohol. And sometimes he came to see me, he was drunk. I didn't know that. He was a lifelong alcoholic. I couldn't even tell. And I was an alcoholic myself at one time or another. But you let God use your imperfections. Galatians 2:13 says, Barnabas was led astray. He was led astray. He started kind of spurning the Gentiles a little bit by his actions and things. And Acts 15:36-39 says, he and Paul had a sharp disagreement. This is a guy he partnered with. Barnabas wasn't perfect. He was the son of encouragement, but he wasn't perfect. He made mistakes. He got caught up in hypocrisy. He clashed with Paul, but he didn't quit. He kept serving. He kept encouraging. He kept believing in people. And the young man he refused to give up on, John Mark, later wrote the Gospel of Mark. God used Barnabas' imperfect faithfulness to shape the New Testament. Now, don't let, we all mess up. Don't let that stop you. Don't let it halt you in what's going on out there and putting out and presenting the gospel. You may not do it with your words, but you might do it with your actions or whatever. You don't know how God's going to use it. Don't let it stop you. So many times we get discouraged and we just stop. Oh, God can't use me. Well, I'm just going to forget it. No, that's exactly what the enemy wants. Let God use those imperfections to see his kingdom enhanced. And just as Barnabas did, don't let your failures silence your calling. God uses imperfect encouragers. Let's end with this. Barnabas shows us that encouragement is not a personality trait. It isn't so, oh, that guy's a great encourager, he's a good at this. No, it's not. It's a ministry. We can all be an encourager. And when we live like Barnabas, God multiplies our impact. The World Cup, the world should be underlined. That's what it is. He can use our impact. He'll multiply it into the world. You don't know who you might minister to. There might be the next Billy Graham. Might be the next Reinhard Bonnke. Might have to look him up. You just don't know. So this week, choose one step. I'm going to give you 4. Be an encourager. Stand with someone overlooked. Give generously. Let God use your imperfections. If you do, you'll look a lot like Barnabas and even more like Jesus Christ. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this. make sure you hit the like button and share this with everyone out there. Not because I was preaching, but I just think it's a great message. And we'll talk at you next time.